ex-spouse will start arguing that no, he did not send the child back at this certain hours, or he did not pick up the child at this hour. It was actually later, so he should be given less time now because he doesn't even appreciate what he has been given.
So hello everyone. So in this episode, we'll be exploring some issues surrounding custody, care and control, access, children issues, both sides of the border.
So when we talk about child or children, the two big issues, we talk about custody, care and control, and the other part is guardianship. So custody, care and control, how I will explain to my client is that it's about the child's day-to-day arrangement. For example, who should the child live with, who is taking care of the child's, say, meals, and all these kind of things that you encounter on a day-to-day basis. Guardianship is some people will say it's a more important issues, which I don't really agree, because I think everything is important. But guardianship, we tend to refer it when we talk about, say, medical decision, relocation plan, and then even schooling. If he or she is going to change to another schooling system or go overseas, this can come under guardianship as well. And another thing is religion. So all these, the court will deal with it under the heading of guardianship.
Okay. So we have slightly different terminology in Singapore. So what you would term as guardianship, we would term as custody.
Right.
Which is very confusing, right? Because your custody is our care and control.
Yeah.
Right. So custody, I mean, in Singapore, we deal with all the big decisions. So education, religion, relocation, big medical decisions, not your common cough and cold. Whereas care and control parent is the parent that the child lives with. Right. So that's and makes all the day-to-day decision, what does the child eat, when does the child sleep, and sometimes I would say make some of the more mundane scheduling things like enrichment classes and all that. And then the parent whom the child doesn't live with is the access parent.
Yeah, this is the same for us.
Yeah. So I mean nowadays we have a lot of shared care and control.
Yeah.
Or basically shared custody for you guys, right? Orders. You can also have split care and control, so where siblings don't live with each other. Even though that is very, very discouraged in Singapore, we would have to explain why is it that this situation should carry on, the siblings living separate from each other, because I mean studies do show that siblings should live together because there's some psychological benefit from siblings growing up together. And then for us, guardianship is like, in Singapore we do have a concept of guardianship, but that is under a different legislation altogether, and that tends to deal with unwed parents or couples who are not divorced yet. So that's the Guardianship of Infants Act. Separate thing altogether. But I think, regardless of the terminology, we have an idea of big picture, and then where the child lives with, and then the access issues. Okay. So, I mean, in Singapore, joint custody orders are definitely the norm. Both parents are encouraged to make all the big decisions together, and that's why co-parenting is a big emphasis in Singapore about how do we communicate with each other after the divorce. And so we actually have a lot of programs. So before you can file a simplified uncontested divorce in court, if you have children below age 21, both parents have to attend this course called the Mandatory Co-Parenting Program, and they have to come out with this certificate, right, of attendance, basically, that they've learned everything that they're supposed to learn, or everything the government wants to tell them about co-parenting. And then with this cert, then I can actually file a divorce, a joint petition, a simplified uncontested divorce in court. So even if you want to file a contested divorce in court, as long as you have a child below age 21, you still need to go through this mandatory co-parenting program. Give me the cert, then I can actually file, so that the government knows that we have communicated this message to you that you must cooperate with your other side, even after the divorce. So I actually wanted to talk about shared care and control or nesting arrangements. I mean, what are some of the arrangements that you've seen in Malaysia that work?
Yeah. And so in terms of the guardianship part for us, the big decisions, in Malaysia, I think the court is still very much in favor of shared guardianship, joint guardianship. So it is very, very difficult. It is an uphill task for one parent to say that I do not want the other parent to have a say in all these big ticket items. So that's one thing. Then the second part, in terms of custody, care, and control. So sole custody, care, and control is not uncommon. But so for child below a certain age, 7 years old, the law says that the presumption is that the custody should be given to the mother. Then unless it can be proven that she's an unfit mother, then only the court will not give the custody to the mother. Even in those situations, the father, it's not automatic that he will get like sole custody. You still have to show certain things. And for the parents, the parent who does not have the custody, care, and control, he or she will get an access. So access, you're talking about when you can, it's sort of like visitation right. My clients come to me with this term, visitation right. So it's that concept. So I have not really seen like a nesting concept in Malaysia. I feel it is just a geographical problem because sometimes Singapore is rather small, so you can travel within an hour or something to come to the same household. But in Malaysia, it can be a situation where the parents are, especially after divorce, they might not be living in the same state anymore. So you can't do the nesting situation because someone has to take care of the child. The more common one, you will see that they get a weekend access. Then of course weekend access, you go to, you might see younger children, you might see a more detailed one, whether overnight access is allowed, or you have to send a child back to the custodian parent the same day, or you can also ask, the court can also order supervised access for whatever reason, right? So these are the things, but I think the complication, the common one is weekend access. Then you have the situations where the custodian parents feel that they have been sort of denied the fun times with the child. It's more like, oh, because I'm the one who have to discipline the child, to tell them you must do your homework, you must do certain things. But when they see the other parent who is not taking care of them on a daily basis, they are only having fun with that parent. So then the custodian parent will feel that, oh, I do not get a fun time. So it's actually quite hard. I feel it's actually quite hard for the court to even make this kind of decision. So you will see some of the orders are termed that the excess parent will only get like 2 weekends in a month, because the court will want the custodial parents to also have the weekend with the child. Then it's actually I think it's quite difficult, because the other parent will think that then I only get 4 days in a month with my child. So again, because we do not have like a parenting coordinator like Singapore, so this can be quite heated issues in court.
Okay. Yeah, I guess the geographical distance is a issue here, and especially, in Singapore, it's shared care and control orders should technically be easier to implement. So
Right.
what I mean by shared care and control, sometimes people do week 1, week 2, so week on, week off.
Yeah.
Or they do half of the week. So like say Sunday to Wednesday, Wednesday afternoon to Saturday, something like that, right? The half of the week. So technically they should be easier to implement. When I mean nesting, it's like the children stay in one place and then the parents will come in and out. That can be quite common, I think, in the West. But I don't think that it is that common in Singapore, because properties are expensive and rent is expensive, right? So, but technically the shared care and control orders should be easier to implement, because you can just come, very easily go from one person's house to the other. But I think practically speaking, it becomes more difficult as the children grow older, because it just means that they have to do a lot more shifting. And during the week when they're already very busy with homework and school activities and all that mental thing of having to shift between households to give the parents equal time is a bit unfair on the child.
Yes.
So sometimes someone has to sacrifice, and typically it would be the care and control parent will have to sacrifice in terms of leisure time, and the access parent will have to sacrifice in terms of actual physical duration of time with the child, because the child really does need to finish homework, unless the access parent is saying, okay, you can come over and I will ensure that the homework is completed. And that is why communication, co-parenting and all that is
Very
so
important.
emphasized
Yeah.
in post-divorce arrangements, right? Because as it is already, children are very, very busy, parents are very, very busy, and then you have to already split their limited time. So when you have to split like that, you really have to communicate. And I do think that that's actually asking quite a lot out of parents who are already don't like each other, right? That's why they are no longer together. And to ask them to have this heightened level of communication, right, is actually a very tough thing, because you're already carrying a lot of these emotional hurts and baggage from the fact that you're no longer together. And then yet you still have to communicate. You have to be a much bigger person to have to communicate. So it makes it very, very difficult. But I mean, I want to encourage parents out there that it is really possible to do that. It's very possible to see your other half. You might not be together anymore, but you can see them as like a business partner, almost as someone who you are partnering together in an endeavor and a venture, which is your children that you share between them, and to just have their best interests at heart, and to see to that's what the law says, that the children's interests are the paramount consideration here. And so that's where we're coming from in terms of care and control and access orders.
Yeah, and I think I just want to also let the audience know that I know many parents, many couples, especially when they start fighting, they will think that it is my right to see the child. That's why they have this mindset, and then they feel like they'll be deprived of the access. But that's not what the law says. It is actually the right of the child to see both parents. So in some of our cases, the court has actually said that. So the court doesn't. Sometimes the court will say very bluntly, I don't care how busy you are. If this is the only free time the child has, if they have to attend school or whatever. So the parents should make time for the child. We have seen that. And because we have also seen where the order has been given, but well, I mean, I guess when you fight, you just fight on the smallest things. You become very, very petty, right? We've seen cases in committal proceedings. The ex-spouse will start arguing that no, he did not send the child back at this certain hours, or he did not pick up the child at this hour. It was actually later, so he should be given less time now because he doesn't even appreciate what he has been given. Again, these kind of arguments, I do not think the court will view it very highly. Again, it comes down to what is the best for the child.
Is there a standard access order or a more common access order that the Malaysian courts would grant?
I do not think there's a standard one. Like I said, I think most of the time what the lawyers draft in the petition, the prayers will be the weekly access, because that's I guess easier, or it is already something that the parents are doing with the child already, because typically one parent would have moved out by the time they filed the papers in court. But we do, because of issues like this, because it is hard for people to communicate after the separation. Lawyers tend to be more detailed in the orders in the prayer. So you will come. I'm sure it's probably is a similar thing in Singapore, where you will even state the term that for school holiday, the first half of the holiday the child will spend with maybe the mother, then the second half is with the father, and then maybe the school holidays in Q3 or Q4 you swap, because again, the thinking, you might think, I know the audience might think this is so ridiculous. Why do I have to go down to every single details? But trust me, when the time comes, you understand why. Because if, for example, the school holidays are, say, 2 weeks, then the children will usually have homework. So one parent might feel, if I'm always getting the second half of the holiday, the child can only spend time doing the homework rather than having the fun time with me. So they want that kind of switch to say no. So you must exchange with me. There are times that you have to supervise them to do the homework, and then I can be the fun parent for once.
Yeah. So yes, I will actually encourage people to be more prescriptive, so as to prevent misunderstandings and conflict down the road. Okay, but I mean, for us, typically we would do 1 weekday access dinner, 1 weekend overnight, so either Friday night or Saturday night, half of the school holidays, so whether first half or second half, and alternate public holidays.
Right.
So that's a quite a common order, and then it's if you want something different, then you probably have to explain why lah.
Yeah, and I think there are some festivities, birthdays,
Chinese New Year.
Yeah, so I am usually very afraid to get a calls before.
That's our busiest time.
Yeah, I think it's like
Public
Christmas time.
Yeah.
Some things always will crop up. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they're like, oh, can you do something straight away? You know, and then I'm just like, it's Chinese New Year Eve. I tell you, the court is already closed. So there's nothing I can do. You're gonna have to sort it out amongst yourselves. And this is why you should sort it out beforehand and don't wait until Chinese New Year Eve to sort it out. So how strict is the enforcement process in Malaysia? I mean, if one party defaults on the access terms.
Again, typically in Malaysia, you just run back to court to say that, this guy has breached the order. You want to file a committal proceedings, and then you want to compel him to do or her to produce the child. I think the more complicated situations is where a parental abduction happens. Again, Malaysia is very big. Either the mother or the father can just bring the child to another state without informing the other parent. Of course, you can go to court to get an order to say that he or she has breached the order. But the reality is you want to see the child. And when it becomes a very, very extreme situation, you might not even be able to communicate with that parent anymore because they have done that intentionally. So that's very, very bad, even for the child. And the more difficult situation is when the parent brings the child out of the jurisdiction to another country, and Singapore has signed the Hague Convention. Unfortunately, Malaysia is still not a signatory. We have not ratified Hague Convention. So it's not as straightforward to deal with that kind of situation.
Yeah, it's tough for us in Singapore because, I mean, in Asia, Hong Kong, Singapore, Japan, Korea, Australia, in the APAC region, those are the only Hague Convention signatories to the Hague Convention on International Child Abduction. And so we are actually surrounded by countries who are not signatories of the Hague Convention, and we'll have to deal with it with domestic law. So parental alienation and parental abduction is a real thing. It definitely does happen. And our closest neighbor is Malaysia, right? So the easiest thing is just to run across the causeway and then after that disappear somewhere, right? So it's that is something that commonly can be done. And you do need specialist family lawyers who know what they're doing, because you have to act very quickly when you have knowledge that this person is going to abduct the children elsewhere, right? And the minute you get a text or you record a conversation or something like that, you need to take out an injunction in court. And we do have processes in Singapore. You take out an injunction, you inform the immigration, you can stop them at the border, but you do need to act quickly and you do need to act decisively, you see. And that's something that we can do. But for us in Singapore, we have this new thing called the Enforcement of Child Access Order, so the ECAO regime. That was actually introduced only 2nd January this year. So we don't really know statistics and how that's going to work, but that encompasses the committal and all these other things that you can do. And it also deals with the thing about how some parents, they will purposely retain the child for 1 hour, 2 hours, and just as a something irritating to do to the other side, right? And send the child back late, and so you will end up there's a mechanism for you to deduct the amount of time,
Right. Right.
So that's some of the things to address the defaults. Yeah.
I mean, we similarly, if there's some indication or like you real risk that the parent is going to run away with the child, we too can go to court to get an injunction, and then we'll inform the immigration, and then they will not be allowed to leave the country. We have that in place, but again, in reality, you have to act really quickly.
Yeah. Thank you for watching, and we'll explore more topics in the next episode.
See you.